That was meant to be the little video that says we'll be starting soon. That is not what's happening. Why, hello, and welcome to issue 711 of Geek in the City Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Duran.
I'm one of your other hosts, Beanarita.
And I am your other host, Cable Hashitami.
What's shaking, nerds?
I don't know.
Other than me forgetting to hit a different button. Professional.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys care? You don't pay for this.
And yet they still care.
Oh, yeah, boy, let me tell you what. The message I get, the audio wasn't as great last time. Great, help us pay for a place. Whatever.
Hey, there is nothing wrong with valid criticism.
I know.
Yes.
They're not wrong. Last week's episode, the audio was.
It's also always the same three people.
I see.
They're just complainers.
And sometimes that's how people have their love language. That is how they express their interest. You don't have to, and that is also valid. But it then becomes an equally valid thing to just go, I appreciate what you're trying to say. However, this is not the best form of communication, or this is not your attempt at telling us how great we're doing is not having your intended effect.
Yes.
And that way we learn to communicate better once we understand how people communicate with us and how that is received and how we can communicate with them.
That was such an enlightened response.
And I'm trying. I am.
I'm like, I've been dealing with the same person since Court and Fat Boy. I'm
yes.
done.
And that is also valid. That is 100% valid.
I mean, I guess that's some real stick-to-itiveness.
Yep.
From that one person.
Every few months, I like to check certain reviews and see if that guy who loves the show but can't stand my voice. He always updates it about every few months. I think maybe it might be like just performance art that he's doing now.
Could be. I wonder whatever happened to that other guy that was stalking us and hated us.
Which one?
The one who was like screen capping our social media profiles and
that Grimlock guy.
Yeah.
And posting ugly stuff about like Greg and saying that if he saw me, he'd push me in front of a bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just vanished.
Good.
Well, I mean, also we blocked the bejesus out of him, right?
And he got reported a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Anyway, we're happily living our world.
I should say that my more enlightened comments of how to communicate with people have less to do with the one person that may be pouring that vitriol back and forth with our own, and more to do with the hundreds and thousands of other listeners that also they may fit in that category and not realize it yet, and then go, oh yeah, that's a good point.
That is
it's never for the offending person. It's always for everyone else.
Right. What is that term or concept? Like, forgiveness isn't about the other person.
Yeah.
It's for you.
Yeah, you are correct. That is true. That is, hate is the same thing.
I don't have to hate you not to want to in order to. Words are hard. I don't have to hate you in order to not want to forgive you. Maybe I just think you're a shitty person and I don't want you around.
Yeah. But it's also that concept of the more you give into hate about things, that just gives whatever it is that is causing you discomfort or anger or frustration.
Gives it power.
It not just gives it power, but it allows it to live within you.
Yeah.
Rather than live over there where it actually is.
Right. That's what I mean. Like to hate it is you giving it power.
Yeah.
And influence on yourself.
That's correct.
Yeah, the Emperor totally lied to me. Hate does not make you more powerful.
We all knew that was a lie. We knew it was a lie.
Anakin's just a dum-dum.
Like,
I mean, when I first heard it.
Darth Vader is a dum-dum. Anakin came around. To be fair.
To
be
be fair.
Thank you.
Yes, if you want to parse out one person into two separate entities, yes.
I didn't do it. He did it to himself.
I did.
But also he was taken into a cult more or less against his will at a young age. So
Yes,
these
he
sorts
was.
of things are bound to be the end result of that.
Yep.
Oh my God. I think I showed both of you that guy that does all the voices and then deep fakes like Ghost of Qui-Gon watching.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I haven't watched him in a few weeks, and he's got like 4 videos about the last few episodes of Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
And first off, I forgot that there's a running bit that in his bits, Qui-Gon has no idea that Anakin becomes Vader. So, he's like, Anakin, what happened to that? Who's this person? And the guy's like, yeah, go ahead, Anakin. Tell him what happened. Hey, look, it's another stormtrooper. But the stuff that's been like on those last episodes of Ahsoka, it's doing it again. It's so weird. So like every time Ahsoka pulls something off, the guy who does the voice goes, "Woo, snips! Yeah, I taught her that." And everyone's like, "You taught her that move." Well, I mean, everything she does that like looks cool. Yeah, that was me. So when she's fighting, what's his name, and he throws the boulder and he cuts it in half, he's like, "What about that?" He's like, "Oh yeah, boulder cutting. That was like day 3."
Y'all, I'm so behind on Ahsoka.
I
I think the last well, like Christian and I have been like alternating out of townness.
Oh, right,
right. So the last episode I remember seeing is the one where Ahsoka is interacting with Anakin, and he's going to finish her training
in the world between worlds or whatever.
And so she's like a little girl again, and they're going through all of these battles that they experienced before.
Yeah, don't.
How many episodes ago is that? Like
That's
4?
episode 5.
And we're on episode now.
It's done.
It's
they
done.
Did 8.
There are 8 episodes. You have 3 episodes to watch.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about this anymore, except to say the little girl that plays young Ahsoka is also the teenager from Barbie.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
America Ferrera's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
She also had some other iconic character that yeah, that's right. She's also Baby Gamora in Infinity War.
I thought she looked familiar.
Oh, wow.
And that's that
This
actress.
is the only child actress of color that they can find right now.
That apparently can get the job done. Yeah, exactly. We will take what we can get for now and keep pushing.
It's like every time I mention about like how TOS was like very, very diverse for being 1966. And someone will throw at me like, well, they got Ricardo Montalban to play like an Indian person. That doesn't seem very open. I'm like, bitch, it was 1966. Be happy they found a brown person to play a brown person, man. Why don't you step back?
It's still better than like John Wayne playing a Native American.
They wanted Charlton Heston to play a Mexican.
Or Sir Alec Guinness playing a Japanese person.
And by the way, John Wayne didn't play a Native American. He played Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Oh my God damn.
Yep.
It's all bad.
The best thing you can say about that movie is it's probably what killed him.
What's her name?
The page just reformatted, so I lost my spot. But I believe it's Ariana Greenblatt.
Oh, that sounds about right.
It's the name right after America Ferrera's character.
So I saw a little
I totally
snippet.
see it now.
Yeah, I saw a snippet of an interview of her talking about that. She said that like she and Rosario Dawson were not on set together because they didn't have scenes with each other because they're playing the same character.
Right.
But she got to be on set and watch Rosario Dawson and spent a lot of time with her fight coach, mimicking as much of Rosario Dawson's moves as possible, as well as watching the entirety of the Clone Wars.
Right.
For the one episode that she is in.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's
dedication. Kid.
Well,
good job.
Hayden Christensen showed up knowing his shit too. Like he was giving during like the fight, because some of the behind the scenes, it doesn't give anything away.
No.
But they're showing a lot of the fight. What's it called?
Choreography?
Thank you, man. And like he's making recommendations to the fight choreographer. He's like, I think this is a move that Anakin would do this because at this stage in his life during this flashback, he's dealing with this. And they're like, okay, like, you know, this character, man.
Yeah. It's like, nope, do it.
That line, I've heard that before, or I've heard that from somewhere. That's an ad lib. That not an ad lib. That's a line Hayden said, "Can I put this in?"
Yep.
You know, and I was like, damn.
He is really getting to realize the character the way I think both he and George had intended for him to play it.
Yeah.
In the long run, now, which is fantastic.
When he came on stage at Celebration when they had just announced Obi-Wan, and like, I mean, I'm not saying he tears up a bit. Like, he gets it, like they don't stop clapping for him for like 5 minutes. And I don't think he was ready for that, like, at all.
Because all he'd heard for years is people hate him.
Yeah.
To the degree that he's like, yeah, I think fuck this acting thing.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll come back to it a little bit now. I don't know. I mean, there's only so much that he can do as Anakin. Like, they can't just keep...
True.
You know?
But I do think that there's plenty of Disney money for them to put in, and projects for them to go, hey, if you'd like to do this, we could use it over here.
Yeah. Or if Disney decides to do a fuck it. And so Dark Horse had a series called Star Wars Infinities.
Yeah.
It was their version of What If.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what if they just like, we're gonna do, they would be shorts, I think. But like, you know, what if? So the one that was the most fun, the old Dark Horse, they did a couple, like each movie had its own thing. It wasn't, so like there was Infinities, A New Hope, and then they didn't do a sequel to it. So in A New Hope, it basically, like, the first issue of that Infinities, like the Death Star blows up Yavin. Like, Luke doesn't take the shot.
Oh no.
You know, and it spins off from there. The one though that's really, and then I forgot what happens in Empire, like the Infinities Empire. But I think the Infinities Return of the Jedi. It's so weird. I think the Infinities of Return of the Jedi, it's Leia who turns, and Luke doesn't know how to process it. He's like, I can't kill my father and my sister. I can't do it. They're fun. I don't know if people would accept like a what if thing for Star Wars, but you know,
I think they would if it was animated.
I think animated, yeah. So who knows? It's fun.
Cool. Well, we can definitely talk about Ahsoka probably in a couple weeks. Should give you time to watch a bunch of horror movies and catch up on that, and I'll be back on the show.
Oh yeah, that's true. But speaking of horror movies, should we jump into like stuff on our list?
Yeah. So to catch everyone up in the audience,
to those who are just joining us.
Yes. So the past week of movies, right? Since the 11th.
Yep. Sorry, kids.
All right. So since the 11th, the 10th, since the 10th, the last time we were on air, I have watched The Fly, Poltergeist, Eyes Without a Face, Let the Right One In, The Last House on the Left, and Shaun of the Dead. However, the only movies out of that short list that were new to me were Eyes Without a Face and The Last House on the Left. But also, you finally watched Child's Play.
I did. I have finally watched Child's Play.
So where do we want to start?
I mean, I feel like yours are going to require a bit more in depth, especially when we get to, I really want to hear your thoughts on Last House on the Left.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
That's still a movie I have not seen yet.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, can we talk about it?
You can.
I mean, I feel like you know a lot about it anyway.
Well,
I feel like I know enough. I don't know a lot of details, but I still want. Yeah.
Well, maybe we save that one. Let's see. Let's start with Child's Play and let's see how much time we spend on this.
So here's the thing with me, and I'm trying to get better about this, about watching shows that or movies that I maybe would have enjoyed when they came out, you know, or I can acknowledge that I have generationed out of it. Like Hocus Pocus. I watched it for the first time last year, and I'm like, I do not understand.
It's definitely more of a kid's movie.
Yeah, and then but I know people that are like in their mid-30s and like that, and like, oh, because you were 10 when it came out. It's going to have that impact on you. So I'm trying to approach those movies that way that I'm kind of rediscovering.
I mean, for what it's worth, I would have been 9 when this came out, and I'm not
I would have been
crazy for it.
Child's Play. I would have been
Pocus.
Hocus Pocus. Yeah, I would have been 12 when Child's Play came out. So that was right when I was getting into slashers.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen Nightmare on Elm Street. I had seen some of the Friday the 13th. So I was,
Mhm.
and by then I knew they weren't going to scare me. I just wanted to see fun slashers.
Mhm.
I would have been, I was 16.
Okay. I like it. It's I think without the voice actor, without the guy who's
Brad
the voice,
Dourif?
Brad, it doesn't work.
No, it does not.
He's just so unhinged in his voice work that if you'd have gotten anyone else, like it doesn't, because it is still just a fucking doll.
Yep.
That is not threatening in any way. It's his unhinged performance that sells it.
Yep.
Not scary. But now I want to watch the other ones because now I kind of understand why the French see it as this kind of great absurdist comedy horror
Mhm.
and commentary on consumerism. I'm like, oh, that I see.
I mean, I don't know so much about how that concept works for the first one, but the franchise as a whole, yes, because
Sure.
there's a whole. The opening to Child's Play 2 is a long montage with creepy music where materials are being repurposed
Right.
to make more buddy
Chucky's.
dolls.
Yep.
Yeah.
And thus the blood of Chucky, i.e., the original slasher guy.
Yeah,
now
the
that you know,
serial
like,
killer.
it's like the soul is transposed into the body, and then it's becoming his real body. The killer's blood gets into the mold, the melted plastic that they use to remake
Just like when
more
Kiss
dolls.
had comics from Marvel and they put their blood in the ink.
Sure, just like that.
Yeah.
There, like, I can see where you're like, oh, okay, I can see where you're like really taking a stab at American capitalism, and it just all keeps getting like you're refeeding
Yeah.
the same machine.
It was fun. I had fun with it. I thought he'd be in it more.
Brad Dourif?
No, like Chucky.
Chucky.
Oh,
He's not in it a lot of the
Here's
first
the
one.
thing,
I
when I was
expected him to be in it
watching that-
more.
when I was watching it, there was a couple scenes where I was pretty impressed with. I can only assume it was puppetry. Where I'm like, oh, how did they do that?
For-
Because I don't see any
For the late 80s, it's not. It's
strings
pretty good.
right? So
Mhm.
I mean, like, whatever they did, maybe it was a little bit more, cost ineffective, and so they could really only do so many things that
Mhm.
looked really good and cool to give the visual image of a doll that is alive and is trying to kill you.
Right.
Yeah,
it was fun. I don't know if I'm gonna now I don't know if I'm gonna jump in and watch the whole franchise.
Mhm.
But it does kind of make me want to. I don't know if you can do it, but it does make me kind of want to jump almost immediately to Bride of Chucky, because I've heard that that's when that show they're like Bride of Chucky is its own thing about obsession and domestic issues, and I'm like, all right,
yeah, it's a whole nother thing. That's the last one I ever saw.
Yeah, I haven't made it into there's a difference because there's Child's Play 1, 2, and 3, I think, are Child's Play movies,
Mm-hmm.
and then they switched the titling to Chucky movies.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And that's, I think maybe I don't have it up, so I can't look up what each of those were called, but I feel as though that was kind of the shift of we're going to shift away from what that first thing was really about and talk about these other things. And yeah, it apparently bringing Jennifer Tilly on was the piece that entire franchise was missing,
yeah.
because she's just turned full tilt into that.
Oh, I take it back. I might have seen number 5. So it's Child's Play, then number 2, number 3, number 4 is Bride of Chucky, and then Seed of Chucky. They have their own maniacal baby doll.
Right.
Doll baby. Curse of Chucky, which I could not tell you the first thing about. Oh, but then that's that takes a bigger jump from 2004 to 2013. Bride of Chucky was 98. Seed of Chucky was 2004.
And then there was Cult of Chucky in 2017.
Yeah.
So it seems like they've never really stopped making these movies. Like
And
they
then
had,
they-
obviously they had a bigger push in the 90s, but like every 10-ish years or so,
Yeah,
they put out another one. And now there's Child's Play, the TV series, which started in 2019.
Which is
and
apparently very good.
it has 3 seasons. When I was at Comic-Con last month, the local cable / internet provider had a big old booth, and the back wall of that booth was lined with Buddy dolls.
I saw the
Buddy
photo
doll
booth.
boxes.
Yeah.
and their gift bags were good guy.
Yeah, I kind of
Mm.
wanted one.
The 2019 one, Child's Play, was a remake of the original.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because that Child's Play stars Aubrey Plaza as the mom
Yeah.
and Mark Hamill as Chucky.
Huh.
I've seen that one. That one, like, it's one of those. Yeah, this is a good modern retelling.
Interesting.
Right.
It of the modern retellings of a lot of these classic 80s horror movies, I certainly like it over, say, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake with Jackie Earle Haley. Like, that movie was fine. There's structurally nothing wrong with it.
It doesn't bring anything.
The thing that it brings that it makes it hard to go, oh, I really want to watch this is, at no point have you, when watching the original one, you get into Freddy Krueger and the mythology of Freddy Krueger, and Freddy does some amazing shit and it's great. And you kind of gloss over, oh, right, he was killed because he was molesting children.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people forget that. Freddy
Yeah.
Krueger, total sex pest.
And like,
Um,
I remember the trailer for the remake because it's Jackie Earle Haley.
Yeah.
Like the trailer, half the trailer is like him as the Springfield slasher that killed kid, like the pedophile killer.
Yes.
And I was like, is New Line gonna have the cojones to do like a fucking prequel? It's gonna end with him being burned alive by the parents.
And it wasn't a prequel, but at no point did you forget that
No.
Freddy Krueger molested children. It's like, oh, I don't care about this Freddy Krueger.
That was a weird part of the
You can kill this motherfucker.
That's always the weird thing about the Nightmare franchise with Robert Englund is he brings that kind of twisted humor, and Jackie Earle Haley's Freddy, he does not make
He's
jokes.
not funny.
There's nothing
Nope.
funny about him.
Really?
Yeah, it's
No.
dark.
I've never seen this other iteration.
It's not great.
Mm.
Like I said, it is technically does not have a lot of flaws.
Mhm.
Like, it is shot well,
Yeah.
it's acted well, looks great, production values sky high, but
But it's
you
made
know-
darker by the fact that they don't shy away from the Freddy origin story.
they didn't shy away from it in the first one, either in the original. But this one takes you on the investigative journey of where this guy did all of this stuff. So
Yeah.
like, they don't forget it at any point in the
right.
movie. That is not the focus of the original Nightmare. Where
I saw Nightmare on Elm Street for the first time in many, many years, just in the last year or two, maybe a
Mhm.
little bit longer, and I had forgotten that was his origin story.
right?
Mhm.
But the only reason you know that is because of this like info dump that you get from the mom towards the end,
Mhm.
right before the final battle against him.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I think I don't know if it's 4 or 5 that delves more into like why Freddy is the way he is, and they don't bring it up anymore, and I'm kind of glad.
You're right.
It's
Mm.
his mom was a nun and 1,000 criminals, and
Sure.
yeah,
I think I know. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
If I ever saw that,
they
one.
never returned to that part of his character ever again.
That's excessive.
No. He's just a monster, and
That's
fine.
saying a lot, considering I think Freddy's Dead had an entire like weird 3D sequence with Roseanne Barr. Like that series went off the rails.
I'm going to tell you right now that I've watched every single episode of Law and Order SVU. I know, but that's how it is. And that all of that is too much.
Yeah.
That's too much.
And then we can't go into I've talked about it many times about how Wes Craven's New Nightmare is an underrepresented like gem of a horror movie. That we wouldn't have gotten Scream without that movie.
No.
Which movie?
Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Mm.
It brings back the Freddy mythos. It is very meta in that Wes Craven only writes about Freddy when he's dreaming again, when he's having nightmares.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare stars all of the actors as themselves.
How do I not know about this?
Oh my God, you want to watch it?
Yes.
It's very
great.
self-referential to itself.
Yep.
And you realize like, oh, this was him testing the concept that became Scream.
Okay.
Yeah,
Pardon
when
me,
did
I
this
have to
come
put
out?
this on my letterbox.
94, yeah.
1994.
Yeah.
The Scream was 96.
Yeah, no, and I love the real Freddy glove. Oh, it's so good.
Yep. It's good.
It's good. It's legitimately like a good piece of like horror commentary, and it's got decent scares. It's got decent kills. It's good. Yeah.
I've been watching some late 90s, early 2000s movies that every time I watch them, I'm like, oh, okay, this is another response to Scream, which is why I can look at Scream and go, okay, Scream is that marker point. It's another one of those movies within the movie timeline where it's like, that's when horror movies changed.
Changed things.
Yes.
You changed horror movies again.
Scream this is going to get some fans annoyed, I think. Scream is what Halloween did in 78?
Yes.
Halloween kicked off that entire genre.
Yep.
I know there were slashers before, but Halloween kicked it off.
Yep.
Scream, I think, kicked off the like millennial, like everything looks pretty on the outside, but there's this horrible dark underbelly. We live in the suburbs and our family tries to ignore everything, but it's still out. Like that was a theme. Like I know you did last. Like all of those all came from Scream.
Scream created the horror movie for the generation who knows their horror movies.
Also
although I would
yeah.
argue it pre-millennial because 1996.
I guess that's
Like
true.
I would have been 12, and it's high schoolers.
It
So,
is,
like, I was too young to be watching it, and
Which is
I'm
funny,
an elder millennial.
you're also my sister's age.
Mhm.
And almost everyone I know your age within a few years, plus or minus, they don't have memories of watching Scream in the theater. They have memories of sleepovers and their parents letting them rent horror movies, and they pick Scream.
I couldn't tell you how I watched it the first time.
Almost everyone
grew
I
up with
know,
horror movies.
they're like, I
Um,
didn't see it in the theater the first time. I saw it at home. Like
I watched it in the theater.
I don't think that my parents
but-
wouldn't have taken me to that. They had no concept of PG
Yeah.
rating or any of that.
But I
Right.
was 25 in 1996.
So of course you went.
So
Right.
I was the demographic.
how did that hit with you? Then we get on to other stuff.
Right.
But
Um,
because you'd have been the peak age, I'm sure by now you knew your horror movies or an appreciation of it. I'm curious how that hit.
I think that was right as I was getting out of my I'm too cool for horror movies. And
Mm.
because I went through that like 16 through early 20s. It's like every time I watch a horror movie, I know what's coming. I know it's all fake. I was just too cool for them. And Scream did something different. It's like, okay, like it's where I understood that it's not trying to scare me. It is trying to tell a story.
Right.
It will scare other people, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's not how I get scared. And so watching it, I'm like, okay, I don't think I had the wherewithal to go, this is this and it's doing this, but I did understand that it was doing something different with the genre.
Mhm.
Right. I went to see Scream because I was like you. I wasn't too cool for horror, but by that age, I was very much into like rediscovering Italian horror, like Dario Argento, starting to discover Japanese horror.
Yep.
Like some of the early fucking Takeshi Miike stuff. So American horror was gauche to me. It was like, oh, but I love Wes Craven, so I went to see Scream. Again, kind of pre-internet, especially where I grew up. I don't think they got the internet till 5 years ago. So I went in pretty blind, and like Drew Barrymore's on the fucking poster. She's
Yeah.
the biggest picture.
Yep.
And at that time, she was the biggest star. And I remember thinking like, okay. And then I went, wait, what?
Yep.
Did you just fucking pull a Psycho on me? Did you
I
just
remember that.
Did you just kill the
Yes.
biggest name in this movie in the first 10 minutes?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I see what you do here. So yeah.
So what I was getting at more specifically is that like when I watch Scream, because that's another one I rewatched in recent years
Mhm.
for the first time, I don't relate to that movie. I relate to it in terms of like, I grew up watching Scream movies.
Sure.
What I don't relate to is the characters, like the in-world part of it, because those kids to me seem more Gen X. Like those kids are from a different era than
Sure.
even when especially by the time I was in high school. They were those were older kids.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because that's about right. Because
Those were like decidedly 90s high schoolers, which I was not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like I'm in that weird cultural thing, but I get it.
That you should be the one who relates out of the three of us, the one who most relates to Scream, because you would be the closest in age to those characters when they came out.
And it's funny when I would look back and watch them, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah,
because I watched all the horror.
Yep.
And I remember
talking about all the rules and
yes. Man, in high school, I actually wrote a literature paper on oppression of sexuality and the slasher genre before like learned people were doing it. Mm-hmm. But I remember when they announced, like I saw in Fangoria, like the first picture on the set from Scream 3. And I remember telling my friend, oh shit, a third one. He's like, yeah. I was like, no, you don't understand. Third one is when you break all the rules of the first one. Like, that's why they killed Megan Langenkamp in the Dream Warriors. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, you get to a horror trilogy, the third one throws all the rules out the window, man. And then I watched the movie and I'm like, I'm a fucking dork. You know? But so is Wes Craven, so.
Yep.
Or was.
I forgot one from the list last night because I hadn't put it in. I watched Ju-on The Grudge.
Oh.
I have thoughts on that.
Okay.
I really need to rewatch that one.
And I want to get to your last. I feel like Ju-on The Grudge is one of the only times where the American remake is better. I think it has better pacing. I think The Grudge has better pacing than the first one. Anyway, sorry.
I don't even remember if I saw the American version, so
it had
I
Sarah
can't
Michelle
really,
Gellar.
Mm-hmm.
Still don't remember.
Yeah.
I know she's in it. I don't remember.
Oh, that's right. You haven't watched Buffy, so that means nothing to you.
I mean, I know who she is.
I know you know who she is, but the cultural relevance of Sarah Michelle Gellar's 90s horror movie.
She was everywhere, man.
Yeah.
Mm.
I know what you did. I know what you did. I know what you did last summer. I know what you did last summer. I still know what you did.
I watched the first 3 of those too.
There are 3 of them?
There's more than that.
Well, then there was that one they tried to do. Was it Urban Legends?
I watched that for I think for the first time recently. That was what I watched over the past week.
That was the Bloody Mary one, right?
No, Bloody Mary is the third one.
There's about to be a 4th. I Know What You Did. I Know What You Did Last Summer, 97. Again, those kids were older than me.
Right.
Yes,
but it's still a movie I watched.
Right.
You know,
and they were also high school. I'm like, these people are in their mid to late 20s. I know.
I mean, it's not like
the actors, you mean, or like the way they were living their life? Because weren't they like on a road trip?
Well, they were also like privileged white kids. It's fine.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's part of it too. It's like the lifestyle
that's part
of the
that
kids
era
in
horror.
those franchises. Not an experience I had in high school.
No.
I Still Know What You Did, 1998. I remember watching that. I'll Always Know What You Did, 2006.
Who the fuck is in that one?
It doesn't say here.
Yeah.
And then an untitled 4th to be announced.
With none of the original people attached.
Oh God, I don't know.
Because that was what's her name's big. This was her franchise.
Nev Campbell.
No, Nev Campbell is Scream.
Oh,
what's her name? The Ghost Whisperer. Tits
McGee. Right.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yes. It was Sarah Michelle Gellar and Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah.
Why is? Oh, because this is the 4th one. I'm like, why don't I see her name here? Yeah, I don't know any of these people's.
Tits McGee.
I mean,
I
She flat out
what she's
admitted.
best known for.
Yep. And for constantly teasing them. That was the whole bit. Yeah. Whatever. Good for her.
I mean,
Make the money while you can.
sure. Anyway, we're totally off topic because we're
still talking about
Scream. I know what you did. None of these are on the list.
Well,
so
Scream is on the list.
Scream is on the list.
is it okay?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And
I brought it up because you commented on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe you. I'm not going to remember 104 movies.
I will also always be forever grateful for Ju-on and The Grudge for giving me something I can torment my sister with. To this day, if I just call her and go, she's like, you fucking knock it off, and she'll hang up on me.
I mean,
She hates that sound so much. It freaks her out.
Yeah.
what are little sisters if not everlasting torment?
Yes, Norm. I mean, I know because I read every pop culture thing.
The auto mod on Twitch did not allow me to send my message. Norm was talking about he knows a family where the Chucky franchise is their whole jam. And I said, wow, I've never heard of the Chucky franchise being someone's bottom bitch of horror.
Oh my God. And it told me because misogyny. Well,
Bottom bitch is a good thing.
man, you know what's dumb about all these things? You
Sorry.
say the word bitch and you get misogyny, but someone could write Nazi and be like, oh no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm not gonna get into it.
Don't
It's
answer.
dumb. Okay. What's another one that we can talk about?
Well, I
that-
kind of want to take a break because I really want to get into your Last House on the Left.
Yeah.
Is there something really quick you want to do really fast before we take a break?
I will say Shaun of the Dead, modern classic. Everybody loves it. I deeply enjoy it.
Mhm.
I enjoy it a lot more now that I've seen Night of the Living Dead.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
There's more
right.
to appreciate.
We're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah.
Yep, that was the best part. Well, I don't know about best, but definitely the most noteworthy when you're like, oh, they pulled that right out of Night of the Living Dead.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great.
Okay. I never even thought about, because in my head, I'm like, why would you see Shaun of the Dead if you don't know Night of the Living Dead? Because in my head, my brain can't make the connection of that audience member doesn't know the genre already.
I just
No,
grew up
and-
with a different.
And I don't say it with like, oh, it's just in my brain. Because every time I go to see Shaun of the Dead, there's nothing but fucking horror nerds. Then they play the gonk, which is in Dawn of the Dead when you finally watch it. It's in Shaun of the Dead, the music, and it's called the gonk.
I don't remember hearing that.
I
I feel
remember
like
where
I
it
would.
is.
I feel like I would
It,
have heard that and
it's
noticed
the
it.
last music in the movie.
Oh,
Oh.
that's another thing I'll point out really quickly. I watched 2 movies from the 60s in the past week, and both of them had laughably bad music. Like one of them sounds like
Well,
the
the-
theme music from Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Hmm.
and the other one, I don't know, it sounds like fucking circus music, and I'm like, why is this your choice for your horror film, dude? It's silly, it's goofy, it's breaking the mood. It is absolutely ruining the vibe.
Because it wasn't when it came out.
And that's
Right.
the only
That was
thing I can
not-
surmise. But at like now, that music is not to be taken seriously.
Was
Those tunes.
Was Eyes Without the Face the one with carnival music?
Yes, every
Yeah.
time you get a scene with the secretary, is she?
I haven't seen it. I'm asking, is it like, when you say carnival music, does it sound like it's a pipe organ?
I couldn't tell you right now, but it's it's goofy. It's upbeat. It's instrumental in like a, kind of way. I could pull some up during the break.
I know the answer to this.
Mhm.
It's French.
Yes.
Eyes Without a Face is French.
Yes, it is.
So
but the
that
other
actually
one,
makes more sense.
the other one that has terrible music that like made it less disturbing
Mhm.
was Last House on the Left.
We'll get into that.
Okay.
Okay.
Wes Craven is very particular about stuff.
Okay,
Oh, Norm said the other thing about Shaun is it introduced a whole group of people to Queen. That's true.
that's true. Is it?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's got Queen.
Queen is one of those bands. About every generation, a movie comes out that reintroduces new listeners. So Flash Gordon got a lot of Americans into Queen. Yep. And then Wayne's World got an entire another generation, and then Shaun of the Dead. I do love the story, though. I'm going to take a break really quick. So the last thing that Freddie Mercury saw was a rough cut of that scene in Wayne's World. They were terrified that he would find it offensive in the Murphmobile. And Brian May's like, no, I know him. Let's show it to him. Let's give him something. They're like, but if he hates it, like, we're going to take it out if he doesn't like it. Like, this is not right if he doesn't. And they're like, and as a story, Brian May tells a story of like, we popped in like a VHS of the dailies, showed it to him. And first he just smiled because he was hearing his music, A New Generation. And he's like, I did make a difference. And then it comes a scene with him headbanging and then not able to know the lyrics after that. Brian May kind of went, and like Mike Myers mentions, like, we asked him, like, is this okay? And apparently Freddie Mercury went, that was great. And then just fell asleep for that night. He passed away a few days later. And like, yeah, no, he was like, that was great. Like, he loved it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, on that,
good.
Want to take
We'll
a quick little break?
Yep.
All right. We will be right back. After
Address unknown.
I only know that.
No such number.
Damn.
No such phone.
Wait, what'd you
Best,
I don't know.
best line in Bubba Hotep is when he's depressed the one night, he's watching TV and he's like, coming up this weekend on whatever, TBS, a 24-hour Elvis movie marathon. Watch the King do this and this. And he's all, I'll make 27 movies. All of them will crap. Except Clam Bake.
Except Clam Bake.
Also, I need to rewatch that. I forgot that I'm sure the Blu-ray has it. The DVD of Bubba Hotep has a commentary by Sebastian Happ.
Who that?
That's Elvis. That's Bruce Campbell.
God damn it! That's what I was going to bring for you was Bubba Hotep.
Well, if it's
I'm
not
gonna
horror,
watch that with you.
It would just be sitting in my house for a while.
This is-
only have time for horror right now.
It is
Bubba
horror.
Hotep.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Is
So you're
Bubba
saying there
Hotep a
isn't-
fictional Elvis type? Is that
No.
just the name of the movie, but it's actually Elvis? It's like a
Yes.
funny mockumentary? What?
No,
I don't know these things.
Bubba Hotep is a
mummy.
redneck mummy.
That's right. He's been sucking people's
Fighting.
souls out of their assholes, but he's only focused on
Fighting
old
Elvis.
people because he has to do it a lot because young people fight back.
But nobody
It
knows
stars
it's
Elvis
because
and
it was-
Black JFK.
You guys, this sounds like my nightmare.
No, it's wonderful.
There are a lot of things I don't like mashed together.
You don't actually
And
see
you're
any
telling
butt
me it's
sucking.
funny. No. Just the idea that that's what
It's
he
so-
does.
But it's also a commentary on how like we ignore our elders and throw them in homes to let them die.
Okay.
But that's one of
It
the points is that all these people are dying and no one gives a shit.
I enjoy Bubba Hotep. I also know it is not a great movie,
How dare
nor
you.
is it necessarily everyone's cup of tea.
Right.
So
Remember that I'm almost 40 now. It's too late to like brainwash me into something weird and or dumb.
I think Bubba Hotep is very charming.
I do
Because
too.
remember when the Fox Tower was just indie flicks? Way back in the day when it first opened, they were just going to, not just indie, but like independent film and stuff.
Sorry, I flashed back further and I'm like,
No, not that Fox Tower, the other Fox Tower.
yeah, I flashed back to Fox Theater,
Fox Theater, right?
which they tore down to
Right.
build Fox Tower. It's called Fox Tower because it used to be the Fox Theater. You know,
Gotcha.
I've seen like Crowded House, Sinead O'Connor, Tori Amos there. But like that's
Anyway, that was one of the first movies that they showed.
again, you
It's
were
Bubba
probably 12 at the time,
And didn't live here.
Just-
and
Just that hero shot of Elvis with his walker, but wearing his comeback outfit,
Mhm.
and Ossie Davis in his motorized wheelchair as
Mhm.
JFK.
Yep.
Man, I hate to tell this to you, man, but JFK was a white man. They dyed me this way. They took out a little piece of brain from my skull and put it in a sandbag.
But yes, I do remember. I watched Bubba Hotep at the Hollywood with Bruce Campbell in attendance.
Awesome.
Wow.
He commented on how stylish I was.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice.
I remember there's been a few times where people have asked Bruce Campbell, like, what was it like working on Bubba Hotep? And he's like, oh, it was great. He's like, but it felt so weird to be doing like this, like well-written, but really fucking weird horror movie next to, Ossie Davis, one of the most accomplished actors in modern America cinema, playing JFK. And they're like, well, how was he? He was like, he was all in. It didn't matter how weird it got. He was, because he was a serious actor,
Mhm.
so he got to be like,
Yep.
Ken, let me ask you, Marilyn? And he goes, a gentleman never tells his secrets. But between you and me, yow! Anyway, okay. You know what? Gosh, it's been so long. But you know who's back for the season? Anton and Deb, Asylum are back, baby.
Asylum!
Woo!
We're so excited to be able to talk about Dev and Anton again. It's been a while.
It has been a while. It's been a while. Every time, man. It goes in my head
goddamn
every
it,
time.
Every time. So
I don't.
we've probably got a lot of listeners who aren't familiar with
Yeah.
because it has been some time.
Some time has
since-
passed.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to like open that door again.
One pandemic later.
Oh, that's awful. I love it.
That was the title card that just flashed, right?
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
One
So
pandemic.
yeah,
later.
they are still on Hawthorne. They are still across from the Baghdad Theater. That's always the easiest way to say where they're at. So right now,
They're still the purveyors of cool.
very much so. They're still only open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay.
You can book an appointment
For a
If you send
different
him-
day.
Yeah, for a different day. You can just asylum@pdxasylum.com. I actually was talking to Anton about it. I was like, you ever think about expanding your hours again? And he was like, well, honestly, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like the bulk of, he's like 90% of our business is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So why?
Owning your own retail business is really hard because you're probably, like on the margin, and every hour that you have to pay for an employee is pushing you that much closer to not doing great. This is turning into a not great ad. All this to say, if you can pay the rent and be successful in your business, only being open 3 days a week on Hawthorne, no less, then obviously you're an awesome ass store.
And remember, the more we go off the rails, the happier they are for some reason. So one thing he wanted to bring up is that when we used to talk about it, we would talk about, their modern stuff and their modern items they get in. They still do that. It's still unique. They still try to lock down like local selling of items that no one else can carry for a while.
Exclusive.
What they have backed away from is vintage. I think they have like a table left. The main reason being is that during the lockdown, they couldn't go to estate sales. You just couldn't do it.
It's a tough market.
It's a tough market for that. And there are other factors in like how people feel like what their vintage things are worth now. It just didn't make sense, especially because they were seeing so many great new items that they could expand their store with.
Yeah. I mean, for a long time, they've had a lot of great new pieces that are still like minimalist, modern, inspired, but new. And the fun thing about those newer items is like, you can pick your color of fabric for this modernist couch.
And maybe the one of the materials used are more ethically sourced or are made from renewable resources.
Right.
Yeah,
More
almost
sustainable.
everyone they buy from are very committed, and because a lot of the places they buy from are European, particularly Northern Europe, like the Nordic countries that are really really on the vanguard of sustainable and reusable. But even stuff that's like this thing's popped in my head. I don't know why it's still in there. Last time I visited, it was a doormat. I was like, a doormat, whatever. And they pointed out that like, yes, it's plastic, but it's made from this type of plastic. And they're like, but it has like a shelf life of like 40 years before it begins to fall apart. He's like, and it can be thrown in your dishwasher or your washing machine. He's like, it's plastic, but you literally don't ever get rid of it.
It's
and it's
super
this company in
durable
Sweden. It's super durable. It's really cool looking. There are a lot of patterns and designs. So that's just like one of the things they do now.
Right.
But they're very much into like that European minimalist style.
And they always have been.
And they do it. Yeah, they always have been.
That's like their vibe. Their look.
They still have great little things that we'll get into, but like in the coming weeks or whatever, because they're with us like through Christmas basically.
That is one of the benefits of focusing on modernist furniture and decor is we're still in the modern age. So whatever comes about from it fits within that. Like if it looks like it came out of what the 70s thought the 2000s were going to be like, you're gold.
Yeah. And they always have been and continue to be a place where you can get some really great furniture, housewares, like things to decorate your spaces with. Like, you want an end table? Great. Do you want a cool lamp to put on that end table, or like a wacky vase that's shaped like a Teletubby? I don't know, man. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, they do have something. Like, we'll get into more next week, so we'll get on the show here. But they do have something that I'm going to bring up specifically that I am probably going to go buy this weekend.
You bastard!
It's a candle holder. But the way it's designed, it's specifically designed for those who want to put on something long and flowing and brood through their home holding a candle. It looks like a Victorian era.
Did you buy it?
No, I'm going to. Unless someone wants to buy it for me. But it's specifically designed to not drip like the way you hold it. It's designed to like, there were nights of endless pleasure. There was more. Sorry.
So that you don't get wax on your apartment floor.
Yeah. But they also, he now sells now we're doing it. They've got a pack of like these Swedish fucking like candles that have like they're long candles. Taper. But they have like these 4 holes that go right down around the wick area. Like channels because it melts down into the tunnel. So
into itself.
Your candle lasts longer.
That's fucking wicked.
Yeah.
Because as all you witches know, candles are expensive.
They're expensive. They don't last long enough. They're just white, but you can still do stuff with it.
Yeah.
You can always do ritual shit with it. It always comes in handy.
So go to Asylum. Get your witch shit.
Well,
and get your rad home decor.
Get your rad home minimalist style decor. And we're going to go into details next week, but Asylum's back, baby.
3713 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard, right across the street from the Baghdad Theater. Still got it.
So well done.
Yeah, nicely done.
It's almost as if you had that in front of you.
I didn't look at it though. I opened the website, but I didn't look at it. Asylum is in my bones.
I said almost as if it was in front of you.
Look, we might have taken a break, but Asylum's been one of my bottom bitches for almost 10 years.
There it is. Man, that's twice now that Twitch is going to be like, this bitch.
Joke's on you, Twitch. I didn't type it, so you can't stop me. Asylum.
And Anton's going to be like, did Denise call us their bottom bitch?
It's a good thing.
No, I know.
It is a good thing.
Between 2 consenting adults in a shop? Yeah.
Who's the other consenting adult in this? If it's not the shop.
Asylum.
Now you're just saying Asylum.
In my end of advertisement voice.
Yes.
That makes it special. Did you guys miss us?
So tell us, Denise, about your thoughts on the house.
Denise.
Last house on the left.
She pegs who she loves.
That's a completely different thing now.
What
just happened?
Isn't that how? But
no.
Wait.
No. Your bottom bitch is your best hoe. If you're a pimp.
Oh wow, that I didn't know.
If you're a pimp, you've got your bitches, and your bottom bitch is your best one. That is the origin of that term. But I generally mean it to mean your favorite.
Why is the one at the bottom your best one?
Because they're sturdy.
Because she's your first? I don't know. I mean, you stack the rest of them on top?
Yeah, that she can take
That's not how those things work.
I don't know. Ask a pimp. I didn't make up the term. I just subscribe to the concept.
Oh, look.
Are you actually encouraging me to go... argue entomology with a pimp?
Idea for a new segment.
Is Wayne Brady gonna have to smack a bitch?
Sir, I am no Wayne Brady.
Asylum. Welcome back, bitches.
Oh,
well, speaking of bottoms, you want to talk about Last House on the Left?
Oh man. Oh, too far, sir. Oh my God. Where to start? Okay, well.
Begin at the beginning.
You guys were not wrong. It is a mean and dark little film.
Yes, it is.
And not dark in the way that I like either. I'm not gonna say
it's funny because you kind of love like nihilistic. Like I feel like you love the ending of like The Mist.
Quick
oh, did I freeze? I do that. I'll have to give myself a picture. Sorry.
Okay.
I ain't restarting now. No, we're still broadcasting.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still up.
It's my image. It's my computer.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's unsettling just my face. Go ahead.
So I'm not going to say that I didn't like The Last House on the Left. There were certainly elements of it I didn't care for. And the thing that I think just like really doesn't hold up, and I guess I don't know how the movie was received in its own era, But the thing that doesn't really hold up is that the whole premise of the movie is like kidnapping, assaulting, and then ultimately killing these two young girls.
Mm-hmm.
And they're super gratuitous about it.
Yes.
And not in a way that, I mean, like, I don't know that there's ever a good way to do these types of scenes, but it's just uncomfortable. It's not done in a like a very like a strong, maybe for the time it was, but like it wasn't horror-y. It was just gratuitous. It was just cruel.
It's not. The one thing you will say is that it's not done. There's no attempt to even make anything titillating about it. It's just mean and brutal.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and I don't know that. I'm not sure that one is better than the other.
I think so. I am never going to recommend you watch I Spit on Your Grave, but if you were to watch that, you will see the fucking difference.
You're right. I mean, like, no, I get that there's a difference. I just don't know if one is better than the other. And the other thing that I didn't love is, I don't know, I feel like they went out of their way to make the antagonists, the bad guys of the film, just like aggressively dumb / ignorant.
They're caricatures.
Yes.
And you're also looking at that with like 2023 eyes, with someone who, like, you know, the tropes now.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a trope then. It didn't exist yet. I mean, that's part of it. You kind of have to think of certain things. But
like, their dynamic felt weird.
Yeah.
They were deeply ignorant. Also, I don't know. I just didn't really like feel like they had any motivation to what they did. It felt very like circumstantial.
Well, plus you got to figure that this is under the shadow of like the absolute implosion of the counterculture and free love era. Like, this is the dark end of it. This is Manson family era shit now. And these movies reflect that. And that brutality is also like something we forget a lot, is that for the last almost 2 generations, Americans see war as a sanitized thing, something that happens over there.
Sure.
But the era when this movie came out, we're still watching bodies come home live from Vietnam.
Mm.
Yeah.
And there's like, you were watching like live thing, like we go to you now live from, Hanoi, and you're watching people get fucking blown up on television.
And while I know that that's a thing, I am removed from it because it happened before I was born.
Correct.
It's and even though I have my own experiences that are
right, yes,
similar conceptually, it's still different. It's still a then versus now, and the cultures were different.
Yeah.
I mean, like, literally, this this month specifically is arguably pretty similar. Like, it's still a very over there sort of situation, but it's a really big deal, and it's happening right now, and it's bad all over.
Right.
But we're all still very removed from it. You were going to say something.
Yep. And then I started thinking about atrocities.
Sorry.
That's quite all right. Sorry. Piggybacking on the times that Aaron was talking about, that this was 72.
72. So we're still in the thick of Vietnam.
Yes. We're at the end of Vietnam. Nixon is still president.
Yeah, because when is...
God, it is so weird for me to think that I was born when...
Fall of Saigon's 1975, so...
Oh, fuck.
No, we are neck deep in, like, peak people coming home in body bags that are televised.
Yep. So there's also... During this time period, there was also... I saw this recently from Robert Reich. There was a protest in New York City against the war where Teamsters were convinced to attack protesters by police officers.
Yep.
And
yep.
Because that was also like, this is also
Sorry, I was
commentary.
reading the comments. Will you say that again?
So there was an anti-war protest in New York City. The cops could not do anything about it, but they managed to convince Teamsters, construction workers, to attack the mob. They did.
This is also the beginning of the political right, and even to an extent eventually evangelicals, grabbing the blue collar union worker and telling him, see that kid in the street that's protesting the war? He's why your wages have gone down. You should go beat him up. And they did.
If they're, for all of our listeners, if you're frustrated about things that are going on in the world right now, especially in the US, there is a straight fucking line that you can draw from now to Richard Nixon as one of the biggest problems of why we're in this bullshit. We would not have had Donald Trump without Richard Nixon.
Yeah, there's a whole other thing. Yeah, but we can't. Yeah.
I've been learning a lot about those connections in the last, 5 years. And yes, like from the limited amount that I know,
that's where
I don't disagree.
That's where like Project for a New America was written by like a very young, like, Cheney and Rumsfeld, like back in like the 70s. They drafted this shit.
I didn't know that when I was in my 20s and 30s. I still thought, okay, the worst guy was Reagan. No, it's really not.
I mean he's pretty fucking bad in his own way.
Fucking awful.
And not just that, but the Ford trying to play fair toward. I'm sorry, no, Carter, right? Carter was after Nixon.
Well, Ford and then Carter.
Okay. Yeah. Who did all the pardons and the
Ford?
Okay.
Ford
pardoned Nixon. The idea that like the next person after stuff like Nixon, Democrat. Oh, let's play fair. Let's do X, Y, Z.
That was Ford.
Letting people off easy.
Because Ford's the VP.
Okay.
Yep.
He's the one that let him off easy. Carter was doomed from the day he was elected.
But I thought Carter was the one who decided not to pursue charges against Nixon.
Ford pardoned him, so there were no charges.
He'd already been impeached for
right. I'm only bringing that up to say that like we didn't. Dems, progressives didn't help the situation by letting these things slide from the earliest stages of like, oh, this is problematic, and we can see down the line why that is.
That's the whole point of it is not just now. It is not just a now thing. Things have not been bad just right now. It stems further back.
Yes.
And the more you know that, then you can see those patterns to understand why this keeps happening and how we can derail that. Much like we've just derailed the topic of
the last house on the left.
But that is also provides you the context of when this was made and what this is a reaction to. So the brutality of this is 100% mired in the war that we were in.
Mm-hmm.
And our reaction to people who wanted to either turn a blind eye to it or were protesting against it.
Yeah.
You were clearly the enemy. The only good guys were those willing to destroy.
And the other ones that were the good guys were the troops until they came back and said, this is fucked. And then they became the enemy, like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so in this sort of like paralleling that we're doing here are the parents are sorry, I lost the thread there. The parents are the ones who are like, that's bad and we're going to retaliate. And that's the
and there's so many ways people can view that movie. I mean, like super right wingers love it because it's like, well, of course, because that's justice. You can't trust the system.
Right.
But leftists are also like, sometimes, you're right. Because it's weird how this movie plays for different people depending on your political outlook. But I think as a general rule, no one ever looks at the parents and thinks they're the bad guys, they're in the wrong. Because it really tips into like this reptile brain primal nature.
Well, it's vigilantism.
Yeah.
It
is.
Which a lot of people like is a concept that people are divided on, even now.
Right.
I mean, like I don't know that I disagree with the parents.
That's the weird thing. You'll catch the only thing that gets rough is eventually they take like there's a glee in how they do it.
Exactly. It's not the problem. Isn't that they said, "Oh, you killed someone. You're an awful murder rapist, and you killed my daughter. I'm going to kill you now." It's that they were really into it.
But it's also like, we know you didn't just kill my daughter out in the woods. Like, you made a night of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know.
And then you came and sat at my table.
Yeah. So you know what? And that era of America also was very, I mean, it's funny, like people think about like the 70s and they go right to like disco. And that's not like, that's what, 77?
Yeah, that's late 70s.
It's late 70s. And even disco is a response. That's a whole other thing. But it's like,
let's not get into that.
Like, you could argue that by the time this movie comes out, at least on the surface, all of the major moves made in civil rights, labor rights, civil rights kind of falls under, covers kind of all that. Like, we made massive steps, but then there's a huge pushback. Like, there's a segment of the country that was able to tell working class people who really were going to benefit from this in the long run that the reason why you can't afford this is because of them. So, like, as much as we are super divided now, but it's more public, it's more obvious. Like, back then, we were literally like that tinder, like that pot that's boiling, and you know when you're like at a boiling the boiling pot and the lid's going and it's coming off, it's about to blow the lid off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the 70s. That's the era where this movie comes from. This is also like the rise of the new auteurs, Coppola, George Lucas, Spielberg, like all these filmmakers that went to USC or whatever, but then snubbed their noses at the studio system because the studio was still doing fucking musicals and like happy-go-lucky Westerns, while arguably half of a male generation in this country was not coming home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were coming home, they were, and I'm not saying this was right, they were either called baby killers and no one wanted anything to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
They came home incredibly damaged
mm-hmm.
to a generation that's like, well, just fucking buck up and go back to work. To people that weren't able to process, like, I have been sleeping in mud for 9 months. I have watched everyone I've loved in the last year get fucking blown apart. And now I just want me to just go fucking pump gas
mm-hmm.
and tell me to buck up. Like, America's fucked now, but I look back and I wasn't of this era, but I'm like, you start to know, like, oh, that's where these movies came from.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I ran into there a bit.
But that's fair. To respond to your thing about there being a division on vigilantism and vigilante movies, like I get that as someone who had a lot of friends that said, oh, you should totally watch this movie, you're gonna love this movie, it's right up your alley, you're gonna love this, and I watched it and I'm like,
no, I didn't.
Why the fuck do you think I would like this movie?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, because it's all about, someone doing this. And it's like, you're mistaking my love of comic books and superheroes for wanting to be a vigilante. And I don't. That is.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not how a lot of. comic book heroes
for
started
me,
out.
like Batman, I know is escapist fantasy.
Yes.
I don't want there to actually be a Batman. It's
Mhm.
not a good idea.
No.
Same with like the Punisher. Although taken correctly, Punisher is the example of the system failing. That's the point of that
Right.
character.
Yep.
That
Let's not get into the Punisher because
Yeah.
that's a whole thing. I think for me, the thing that was really weird is I grew up on Wes Craven movies,
Mhm.
and this feels so different and separate.
Do you want to know why? This is his first movie.
it's his first movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's not surprising. It has a very like independent feel to
His
it.
next horror movie is The Hills Have Eyes. And that's in
I've
1977.
I've actually never seen that one.
I've seen the remake, I think. I haven't seen the original, but I'm familiar with it. I know it has Michael Berryman in it, and Michael Berryman is like the classic weird looking bald guy who's really tall.
Oh yeah, he has a little bit of a Herman Munster. What's his name?
Yeah.
Oh my god, what is his name?
Fred
Don't-
Gwynn.
Is that it?
Herman Munster? Yeah.
From Pet Cemetery?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I don't. That seems like such an unfamiliar name to me.
Now I'm gonna have to look it up because maybe
No.
I'm
I
wrong.
think you're right because I just looked it up. Fred Gwynn. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah, it
totally
is.
him. That's absolutely him.
Yay!
I
my
did
brain
not-
works.
My brain did not because like you said Fred Gwynn and I'm like reject. You don't know that name.
So again, I'm saying all of this. I have not seen The Last House on the Left.
Mhm.
It's one of those where I know what the big beats are.
Mhm.
I have not watched the movie. I think I've put it off because it is a revenge film,
Mhm.
and I start to get bored in revenge films because that's not the resolution that I want. The movie in question that I was brought up is Boondock Saints. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna love Boondock Saints." I hate that thing. It's a piece of trash.
I'll tell you what, I loved it when I was like 21.
Sure, but like,
I understand why young people enjoy that film, but it's once I was able to form my own opinions, I'm like, this doesn't speak to me. It doesn't. I don't relate to those characters.
Yep.
And so I don't support their thesis. And when the first time I saw it, I was like, this is cool.
and I say this firmly in the camp of I also really enjoyed the John Wick movies.
That's Gun Fu.
It's
It's a different. It's made for a different era.
It is. It's also made with the sensibilities of these are just bad guys killing bad guys.
Yeah, it's more escapist fantasy.
It is more escapist fantasy because it is.
Boondock Saints is a little bit more grounded in reality, by which I mean it's easier to find relatable.
Yeah.
For like a regular ass citizen.
Yep.
I don't think that too many people can watch John Wick movies and be like, I could
Yeah, I
do
can do
that.
that.
I could do that, and I would be and I have the justifications for why and how I would and should.
Yep.
Boondock Saints, I think, had that. It had. In fact, I know of murder cases where the Boondock Saints was the favorite film of the people who did the murdering. Because it's grounded,
Yeah.
by which I mean
Yeah.
people can watch it and relate to it in a way that is actionable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I agree. It's like I don't think anyone watches The Last House on the Left and it was like and says like, oh, those parents were totally in the wrong. Like, no, like you would feel justified in reacting the way that they did.
Yep.
But
Mhm.
objectively, there are no good people in this movie except for the fucking murder or rape victims because they were just kids trying to have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, again, this makes it an analogy because yes, there are innocents.
Mm-hmm.
There are the perpetrators of the crimes,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the parents seeking revenge,
The Revengers.
which is also a crime in and of itself. And by the very nature that they are also taking pleasure and glee
Right.
in their own actions, it's like, well, that means if they are the system,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at them as the government sending the troops and
Right.
the and the
no,
criminals,
are you committing atrocities? We better come deal with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, also, we're going to commit atrocities because you committed atrocities. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's
No,
also
you're
like
right.
another layer now looking back, like with our modern issues, in that the innocent ones, these happy-go-lucky kids that just wanted to have a good time.
Well, I wouldn't say happy-go-lucky, but
You know what I mean? They just want to have a good time.
Mhm.
Those are boomers. They are.
You're
Well, yeah,
right.
now.
That's what I mean. The very thing that they're angry at younger people doing now, these movies are about them trying to go against the system and like, can't we just live? Why are we doing this?
'Cause
Why are you doing this to us?
The parents in this movie are the greatest generation.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Those
No,
are
you're
World
right.
War II parents.
Yeah.
But that's putting context to a film, but that context didn't exist then. It exists
Right,
now.
but I think it just is a layer of how you can watch it through modern lenses also.
Yeah, sorry. All of this just reminded me of a quote a scene from MASH that I keep seeing getting memed around.
Yeah, I know the quote.
Yeah,
I know what you're gonna say.
With it's between Father Mulcahy and
I can find it.
and Hawkeye, where Father Mulcahy goes, "Oh well, war is hell," and Hawkeye is like, "No, Father, war is war, hell is hell." It's like, I don't understand the difference. It's like,
I can read it really quick.
Yeah, please.
So Father Mulcahy says or it's actually Hawkeye says war is hell.
Mm-hmm.
War is war. No, Father he says it, and then Hawkeye says war is war, hell is hell, and of the two of them, war is a lot worse. Father Mulcahy says, "How do you figure that, Hawkeye?" He says, "Easy, Father. Tell me who goes to hell." He says, "Sinners, I believe." Hawkeye says, "Exactly. There are no innocent bystanders in hell, but war is chock full of them. Little kids, cripples, old ladies. In fact, except for a few of the brass, almost everyone involved is an innocent bystander."
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still true.
Oh yeah.
Still true. Yep. I mean, like this extra context, for like, the era and these generational nuances is helpful in understanding why the movie is the way it is. But I'm going to I stick to my original feelings that I almost wouldn't even categorize it as a horror film.
I would agree, actually.
Here's the thing, is like a revenge flick, I think, is its own thing.
It is a revenge thriller.
Yes.
This falls under thriller, which
and it's
often
not the
gets
only movie on the list.
under horror.
It's not the only movie on the list that I would be like, this is a thriller or it's an XYZ. Sure. I wouldn't really consider that. Bruce Willis, Haley Joel Osment,
The Sixth Sense.
The Sixth Sense. Not a horror.
No.
Yes, it is a ghost story, but that's like saying that Crimson Peak is a horror, and it's not.
Right.
Regardless, that is like its own separate thesis, and I'm sorry. However you want to categorize The Last House on the Left, it is in fact mean, gratuitous, and there's no really good people in the story after the girls die.
Yeah, and I think that's partially
there's the not malignant. I mean, there's like the bad guys who are bad, and then there's the parents who are revengeful and bad because they enjoy that revenge. They sought it and they enjoyed it. And then what else is there? The incompetent police.
Yeah, and I think that's an intentional choice Craven was doing. Again, because of the era of like that's also the era in America where it's like there are no more good guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like who you call the good guy is someone else's,
Sure.
war crime atrocity. So it's like, and this movie is like, and it's because you figure we're only a few years out from like, fucking Jimmy Stewart and John Wayne wearing the white hat. The bad guys wear black, good guys wear the white hat. They punch the bad guys and they ride off into the sunset. Everything's great.
Right.
Like,
and I'm not saying that that sort of like black and white, good versus evil storytelling is better. I'm not. I love, like I said, I love like a nihilistic story. This just did not do it for me on multiple levels.
Okay, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, horror movies in the 60s had terrible soundtracks.
Well, this is 1972.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why did I have it?
72.
Sure.
So I do think
that's the other part is like I'm like I also don't see where this movie influences movies that come after.
It doesn't. I would say it doesn't influence movies. It influences movie makers, because this movie, nothing like this had been done before. For better or worse, I think without Last House on the Left, you don't get Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
which I also haven't seen.
It's great.
So there's that. But that might be a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
It
is. There's a lot of movies you don't get without this, whether you like it or not. There's a lot of creators you don't get.
I mean, I guess I would need to see that list, and then if I don't have any of those under my belt, I would need to see them now to sort of make those connections and get an appreciation.
Yeah, I would think that.
But
I don't want to speak for him. I know one, love him or hate him, like you don't get Eli Roth without this movie.
Yeah.
By their own interview, you don't get the Soska sisters as you know them without this movie. It may not be the movie, but it's the creation of it that inspired a generation.
You don't get Blumhouse.
You don't. Yeah, a lot of this stuff. It was also one of the first really hardcore, kind of brutal horror-ish films where there's not really an external enemy. It's the people down the street.
Yeah.
Again, I'm familiar with that concept, and I'm into it.
Yeah.
This just it still doesn't do anything for me.
I get it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I totally get that.
Yeah.
I get it. No, I see the thesis.
You can agree with the thesis without actually enjoying the thing.
See me with every David Lynch film. I get why people like him. He's not for me.
I watched like 95% of Twin Peaks, and I was like, I just can't. I'm trying too hard.
Yeah, I love one David Lynch movie, and it's the G one that he did about the true story about the dude who rode his rowing lawnmower.
Yeah, my brother's keeper.
Riding lawnmower?
Yeah, he goes to visit his brother on his riding mower.
On his tractor, yeah.
I love it. I love that movie. It's so gentle and sweet.
It's just a little lawn tractor.
Yeah.
So Last House on the Left is also the first. It is Craven's first movie all around, writer and director. So that in and of itself is, I think, why it's on this list as well. Because without this, we don't get the rest of Wes.
Right.
We don't get Wes Craven.
We don't get The Hills Has Eyes. I didn't fucking know he directed Swamp Thing.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he directed the original Swamp Thing. We don't get Nightmare on Elm Street. We don't get Deadly Friend. We don't get The Serpent and the Rainbow, which, man,
that movie is weird.
That is a movie I have only seen once, because that one I'm like, No, that's generally fucked up. I don't want to watch that one again.
Is that the only horror
Don't know
movie
the
based on an
first
actual
thing.
like scholarly paper?
Yep.
So it's based on a book, but the book is a piece of nonfiction, basically, or it's based upon what really are zombies in the Caribbean and in Haiti culture.
I just pulled it up and I'm like, what? That's a lot of black actors. Which
Yeah.
You don't see that often
Yeah.
unless it's a
Craven
black
was
movie.
very big on diverse casting.
The People Under the Stairs, which we talked about before. We Don't Get New
Mhm.
Nightmare.
Now I want to see The Serpent and the Rainbow.
He directed Vampire in Brooklyn.
Goddamn right he did.
He directed Vampire in Brooklyn.
You know what?
Man.
That movie tanked when it came out.
It
I
did.
just watched it again a year ago, and I was like, oh, this is another movie that was 10 years too soon.
Mm.
Yeah, I liked Vampire in Brooklyn.
It's really good.
I saw that in the theater.
It's good.
Craven did direct Scream 1, 2, 3, and 4,
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
which
that's
is impressive.
That's probably like the thing I know him most for, except for
Scream 4 was the last thing that he directed.
That's also
except for
got
Freddy
the
Krueger.
that's also got the double cameo. Jay and Silent Bob
Oh, right.
are in Scream 3 in the background.
Mhm.
They're taking the tour.
The Universal tour.
Oh,
And in Jay
I
and
don't
Silent
remember
Bob
that.
Strikes Back, they're filming Scream 4, and as the killer gets revealed, it's Suzanne, the monkey from Mallrats. And Courtney Cox says, "Really, Wes? A fucking monkey? Really?" And Jay goes, "We love that fucking monkey." It's just them deciding to do cameos for each other.
remember that. That's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
It's
It's also got the great the sequel to Good Will Hunting.
Yep.
When the director's counting money and he's like, "You ready? All right, fine, action." Busy, Ben. I'm busy.
So pretty much almost everything else I've watched in the last week is a rewatch. And yeah, I don't have a ton to say. Stuff holds up. There's a reason these movies are on the list, you know?
I will always rewatch Shaun of the Dead.
Let the Right One In
Mhm.
is still
Oh yeah, we running out
Here-
of time, but yeah.
Oh, here's what I'll say about that one is I don't know if I really picked up on this the first time I watched it.
Mhm.
The ending is actually quite heartbreaking.
For which one?
Let the Right One In.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I realized that the first time I watched it because it's been many years at this point. It's just so much more tragic than I remember, you know, because
Swedish.
I think that like objectively you're supposed to think that this is Oscar's narrative,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not. It's Eli. She pursues him, and like he's the one who's like, "Will you be my girlfriend? I want to be with you." And she's like, "I don't know," but she needs him, and she seeks him out. And at the end, they're like riding off into the sunset together. And I think objectively you're supposed to be like, Oscar gets the girl, but what it is I've been 12 for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you recognize that I think his name is Hakan.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hakan, who is a middle-aged man and was her helper. No, that's her Renfield, and he probably met her when he was somewhere between the ages of 10 and 12.
Yeah.
And now Oscar is that
He
that
let
fits
him-
that role of the Renfield essentially. And it's so tragic. I love it. See, that's the kind of nihilism I'm here for.
It is very beautiful and heartbreaking.
Mhm.
Yeah. The American remake isn't that bad. Let Me In. It's actually very well done. It's pretty good. But it just doesn't match like that horror. It just, I mean, it's probably because it's someone from Sweden filming in Sweden, understanding the long winters more than
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
unless you're a
Yeah.
filmmaker from Alaska, you can't you can say like, oh, I get it. It's dark 6 months of the year. You can't understand what it does to your psyche.
That just like that bone deep sadness.
I watched a
But then when it gets warm, how much they like our friend Anna would tell us in the summer, Swedes lose their minds. They just party because
Yeah.
they know It won't. Winter is coming. That's what we're, you know.
I feel like an American movie that was a remake of a Swedish movie that did that well was Insomnia with I want to say Pacino and Robin
Williams.
Yeah.
Man, Robin Williams' villain phase, we did not get enough of.
Nope. 1 Hour Photo and Insomnia is pretty much it.
Well, and also, he's not villain in the traditional sense, but world's greatest dad. So it's a Bob Goldthwait movie, which, by the way, I love Bob Goldthwait's directorial the last few years. So World's Greatest Dad is essentially, he starts to intentionally catfish, and he's the principal of a school. He starts to catfish his own son so his son will be more popular, until it's revealed that he's the one writing these letters.
Oh, weird.
And these emails to to give his son a better life. I'm doing it a disservice. World's Greatest Dad is, it's the kind of bleak humor that only someone who grew up in the stand-up circuit and I feel like it's a movie that only Bob Goldthwait could direct, because people forgot that Bobcat it's a persona, that voice,
right?
And that Robin Williams, the guy who's expected to always be funny, could only be made by those two. So,
I'm not familiar with either of those. So,
it's World's Greatest Dad's wonderful. 1 Hour Photo, and Ooh.
I'm pretty sure I watched 1 Hour Photo.
The villain Robin Williams is wonderful.
Yep.
Yes,
before we wrap up,
I've seen that.
You've got news on the Monarch series.
Yes. So
insider knowledge, kind of, but not really.
No, it's not insider. I mean, I could have told you a while back, but it's been out in the news stream for a long time. Friend of the show and Beanarita employer Matt Fraction
right.
has been helping to co-create and develop a show for Apple TV Plus called Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. It is, to my knowledge, the first ever Godzilla production for the small screen.
Yeah, I mean, not counting the animated series in the late 90s. Godzilla and World Force or something.
I do not know about this. I'm going to talk about it later.
Cheesy as fuck.
But it was teased about a month ago, and this past weekend at New York City Comic Con, they did a full trailer. They previewed the first episode for the audience there at the event, and the release date is out, which I believe is November 17th. So a month from now, this show is coming out. And
kind of jazz because they got flashbacks with John Goodman.
Yes, so it is tying directly to the 2014 Godzilla. But it does also tie in with all of the other Godzilla monsters that have Godzilla movies that have come out since then. And I lost all my tabs here. I'm not being like a fangirl employee here. I'm a fan of Godzilla and that franchise. And
I remember the night we watched Skull Island.
Okay, we're not going to retell that story.
So much fun
on air.
So I'm not just here to hype up my bosses. I'm legit excited for this series.
Right.
I think it's going to be really cool. And like we were talking about before the show, it is one of those things that is like the big screen being brought to TV, like Marvel and Star Wars. But based on what I've seen, I think it's going to do a really good job of being a big production tied up with really good storytelling about the people who are affected by living in a world where monsters fucking duke it out on top of your city.
Right.
And it's got, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
It's got Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell playing the same character, which I think should have been left as a reveal during the first or second episode.
I'm oh shit.
But it's one of the first things that they put out there, and people are excited.
Right.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see that dynamic because Wyatt Russell has been like pretty up and coming.
Yeah, because I feel like when they announced this show was right as Falcon and the Winter Soldier wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
When he was like, oh shit, Kurt Russell's kid, look at that. Yeah.
Right. And like a year or two before that, he had done this like smaller production TV show called Lodge 49, which I think I talked about on the show.
I've seen it, yeah.
It's this weird little series about just this kid, going through shit. He's a nuanced actor, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And and Kurt Russell has a fucking
Kurt Russell
library
Kurt Russell.
of Kurt Russelling. So I'm excited to see them together.
A library of Kurt Russelling. That's a good title.
I don't think I've seen a father-son pairing playing the same character since the second season of Matt Smith's Doctor Who. The Shepherds.
Oh shit, that's right.
Yeah.
I know I've seen it, but now I can't like
It's
bring it up.
Morgan Shepherd and Mark Shepherd.
Okay.
They both played the same federal agent. Morgan Shepherd played the elder one in the future or in the present, and Mark Shepherd, who most people know from Supernatural, he played Crowley. Yeah, those two. He played the young federal agent at the time.
Oh.
Okay.
forgot
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
It's coming back now.
Yeah. So it like that was great because both of them work in genre television and movies, and they've been a lot of fun. But to get the Kurt and Wyatt Russell, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Is that also Goldie Hawn's son then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's both kids in acting now,
still
right?
together. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, I think Wyatt's been acting longer than people have been paying attention to Wyatt.
Yes.
But his
Because
sister's definitely been acting
Lodge
longer than
49.
Yeah.
was-
Because I think she's like a decade old. Well, I could be wrong.
She's older.
Yeah,
I
she's
don't
like.
know her.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do.
What's her name? Oh no! Yes.
Yes, you do.
Hudson.
Yeah,
Kate Hudson.
Yes.
Kate
Oh no!
Hudson.
Yeah. She's been big for at least 20 years.
Yeah, the last thing that I think all of us would have saw her in was the Glass Onion.
Glass Onion.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the last thing we saw her in. Probably not even the biggest thing she's done. I totally blanked on that.
Yeah.
So they're 7 years apart. Kate Hudson's 44. He's 37.
Okay, so close enough.
God damn, he looks like his dad. Like Kate
Yes.
Hudson looks like a
Yes.
mix of
And
both
when
of them.
Yep.
when you look at the posters for Monarch, it's got Kurt on one side and Wyatt on the other, like mirror images, and you can fucking see it, man.
Yeah.
They're the same dude.
Especially when when Wyatt grows a beard.
Mm-hmm. But he grows a good beard.
It's like Kurt Russell's beard. You goddamn right. He grows McCreary's beard.
Yes. Yes.
Goddamn right he does.
Yeah. All this to say.
Oh man, I would watch a Thing sequel with Wyatt Russell
Shut up.
surviving Antarctica, and the whole time, is he the Thing or is he?
Except for I think that McCreary in The Thing is older than Wyatt Russell is now. So
Whatever.
Would have to be another prequel.
No, you could do a sequel.
You just hate the idea of any prequels to The Thing because you hate the other ones so much.
It's the same movie, but with bad CGI.
Now you know why they're so fucking similar.
Because
Because it was
one's
supposed
a cash grab?
supposed to be a prequel, and then at the last minute it got notes about how it was going to confuse people. So then they made it more like a remake.
No, I know.
They reshot it. So like you're still mad at the movie, like it's its fault.
It is. I
It's
gotta be
not the
mad at
movie's
somebody.
fault.
No, you
Mad at the
don't.
producers.
Be mad at CEOs.
There you go. That's easy.
Anyway, Monarch,
Yeah.
Legacy of Monsters. It's coming out in a month. I think it's gonna be really cool. I think that people
I'm excited for it.
I
I'm
think
looking
that
forward
both
to
like old
this.
school and newcomers to the Godzilla franchise are gonna dig it.
I talk about growing up with the Universal monsters a lot, which I fucking did, and I love them.
Mhm.
But a close second, because again, my mom is really into those monsters. So I also grew up, watching Godzilla movies and Mothra and Rodan and King Kong. To this day, my mom can't watch any of the modern ones because she loves them so much. She's like, why are they being mean? They're just animals, and it's our fault they're doing this. Why are we being mean to them?
Yes.
Like to this day, she can't watch any modern Frankenstein movies. She's like, he didn't ask to be born. Why are we mean to him? And I'm like, because humanity sucks, Mom. That's the point.
She's not wrong.
I know.
And neither are you. Fucking people suck. Although objectively, Monarch is actually as much, if not more, about the people affected by the Titans than it is about the Titans.
No, I'm excited.
Because otherwise there'd be very little dialogue.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I'd be mad about that because again, it's Godzilla and the other Titans.
I think
But
that's a different conversation for a different day.
You're right. You're right. Maybe we can talk about that after the show has come out.
Sure.
I might go home and watch Skull Island. A lot of it for John C. Reilly. He's so good in that.
I'm gonna go home and make pizza dough.
What is it? He's like, I call them skull burrowers.
Yep.
Which saying it out loud now is a dumb name.
Fucking John C. Reilly.
Yeah.
Also, Godzilla is it's King Kong, right? King Kong is a magical girl.
What?
In Kong versus Godzilla,
Mm-hmm.
he's got his magical scepter.
It's not a magical scepter. It's his war axe that then Godzilla pumps up with atomic breath.
Yes. And then it has powers
against Mechagon. I
yeah.
know. No,
Yeah.
okay, right. But now I want to see like a fucking magical girl transformation of like a scrawny monkey into like.
That's what I was trying to remember. I'm like, where does he have a magical squirrel girl transformation montage in the movie?
Well, he doesn't transform, but he gets that war axe that he beat up.
You can show me off air.
Yeah, we're like right now. We gotta wrap up.
No, you're right. We should be leaving, but I'm pulling it up.
So
anyway.
there's what? There's He-Man, Sailor Moon, She-Ra, and Kong.
Yep.
I'd watch a shit out of that movie, by the way.
Lion-O's almost there.
Oh, Lion-O, yeah, Thunder.
There's
absolutely.
I believe there's a modern Superman cartoon right now that also puts him in that category.
Oh, his transformation to Clark Kent into Superman?
Yeah.
Oh, it's flat out a Sailor Moon transformation.
Yeah.
I think it's like the Adventures of Lois. Yeah, no, it's on HBO Max. It's really fucking good.
I've heard.
And it pulls a lot from like late 90s anime. Okay. Like that's clearly its influence.
Again,
you gotta go.
Again, if for listeners, if you want to keep up with this, we are following a particular list. This is the Mopop 100 horror movies, 100 plus horror movies to watch before you die.
Yes.
We do appreciate your other suggestions. Most of them I think we've seen and probably talked about.
Yeah, if it came out after like 1975, we've at least 2/3 of us have seen it by now.
At least.
Yeah. Also, really quick before we wrap up, friend of the show, he did the Dex Dixon game, Werewolf Bikers, all that. He is the
Steve Coker.
Steve Coker. He is the one putting on Young Frankenstein at the theater downtown right now. And there's 2 more weekends.
So we should all go see it.
You should. You should totally do that. I'm not going to join you for obvious reasons, but you should.
Because you physically cannot.
I physically cannot.
But everyone else has no excuse.
Yeah, I'm going to try to catch it. Because the last one they did was the Full Monty. So he's been doing stuff. So Arlene Schnitzer has like a smaller theater within the building.
Yep.
So this is their second one they're doing there. Apparently really happy with it. They've been doing well.
Wait, that's at the Schnitz? It's not at the P5?
It's the small theater inside the building, whatever that is. Maybe that's P5.
I don't fucking know.
Arlene Schnitzer only has one theater in it. The P5, which is right next door, has multiple theaters.
That's where he's at. Sorry.
Yes. That's okay.
Or the Portland 5.
Yeah, P5.
Okay.
That's what
I've never heard anyone call it.
Sorry,
Portland
I had to adjust from not being able to call it PCPA or the Portland Center for Performing Arts anymore.
Is that what it used to be called?
That's what it used to be called, and now it's the Portland something.
Godzilla is charging his magic axe, and then he's gonna fucking bring it down like the fucking hammer of God.
I do remember that part. I was trying to imagine him twirling around and getting a little skirt.
And with that, I am. Go ahead.
He doesn't, but he should.
Okay. Around Durant.
And I'm Beanarita.
And I am Cable Hashitani. I won't see any of you for 2 weeks.
That's true. Unless you go to Scaregrounds. Then you will
Unless-
see him. You take the coffin run.
You still won't see me.
Who will we see?
Your nightmares.
You'll figure it out.
Thunder! Thunder! Thundercats!